Alrighty, so let's get started. So, hi everyone. We are recording this session just so everyone can just hop in and look at it on our YouTube channel. So we do ask that if you do have any personal questions, be aware of that this is being recorded. So keep that stuff in mind when asking them. My name is Mia Joseph. I work here at the Veterans Resource Center, and we are having legal studies with James Heaton. And honestly, he's been here and spoke with us a few times, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. So give a round of applause.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you for asking me to come back for, I don't know how many times I've been here now, but several. It's great. Happy to continue to help out however possible and come talk to you all about legal services, and especially how specific legal services impact the veteran community. So let me introduce myself. My name is James Heaton. I'm currently the supervising attorney of the Mission United Veterans Pro Bono Project at Legal Aid Service of Broward County, the longest title ever. And what that means is I run a program at Legal Aid. That's a partnership between the United Way of Broward County and Legal Aid Service of Broward County. So about 8 years ago, the United Way here in Broward set up a program called Mission United to help connect veterans with resources in the community. And today, the program looks pretty similar. They provide connectivity to resources in areas such as housing, employment, healthcare, legal services, education, and financial stability. So we essentially run the legal arm of Mission United here at Legal Aid, and we do so through a fairly small project. It's myself as the supervising attorney. We have one other attorney who handles only family law issues for veterans, and then we work with the legal community to provide free civil legal services to income eligible veterans through roughly 400 volunteer attorneys who have agreed to take on cases for our vets. So it's a great program. Like I said, we'll be around officially for 8 years in 2 months from now. So January 6th will be our 8-year anniversary. Looking forward to that virtual party that we'll be throwing. And it's program's going strong. So how did I get involved with this? It's something I've never really talked about, and I'm interested in sharing my story with you because maybe you're interested. Maybe you can just skip through this part down below in the scrubber down there. But so I went to law school at Florida International University down in Miami, the Harvard of the South, if you will. And while I was in law school, I had the opportunity to intern at a legal services program my second year. So during that time, I spent about 4 or 5 months at the Legal Services of Greater Miami. And one of my tasks was helping veterans with military discharge upgrades and resolve VA benefits appeals and other issues for eligibility. I got into that and I was fully immersed in doing this stuff. It was almost like a full-time job at that point, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun, very interesting. I got to meet a lot of amazing people, clients of ours that were just had great stories and were just so appreciative of the services that we were able to provide. Fast forward to about a year after that, I had the opportunity to work at United States Southern Command in Doral, and I worked in the JAG office there as a civilian, helping them with they had what they call expanded VITA. So VITA is volunteer income tax, I don't know what the A stands for, assistance. And what we did was we helped prepare tax returns for all of the service members on the base in Southcom, which is they have a small Army garrison there. It's about the size of a building anywhere else, like 3-story Army garrison. And we also helped veterans provide tax returns. And from there, I kind of just got roped into this world of VA benefits and just giving back to those who served our country. And it turned into me graduating law school and working in the area of discharge upgrades and VA benefits on a volunteer basis through Southcom. So if they got in contact with any veterans that had discharge upgrade cases, they'd send them to me. We would help them out. And that led to me working with Legal Aid and Mission United. And I started this position, back in 2016 as the supervising attorney. And I love it. It's great. I did not serve in the military. Neither of my parents served in the military. I don't really have any family that served in the military. Just as a civilian, it's so rewarding being able to give back and help out. So I love it. Great job. I'm not going anywhere. I could easily see myself making a career out of doing this. And it's just, like I said, so rewarding and happy to help. And now I get to use my expertise to educate everyone else and people who are interested in learning. One of the things I do want to point out, and I like to bring up during these presentations and conversations, is that we can't provide specific legal advice on this platform for a few reasons. One, it's just wholly not appropriate. I don't want you putting out all of your information and problems on the internet. It's not appropriate to do. And two is I work at a public service law firm, and we are restricted on who we can assist. And we can only really provide legal services to those veterans most in need, as defined by the United Way and the Mission United program. Now, getting services from our project, there's several ways to do so. And the best way to do is you can call 211 from your phone. Now, 211 here in Broward County has a pretty robust service convening platform for veterans, where they can help connect veterans of all walks of life and all branches and all time periods of service to resources. So if you're experiencing issues with paying bills or rent or utilities or whatever it might be, or you need help finding a job or better place to live because your rent's too expensive or you're just moving here, they can help out. So dialing 211, great way to get involved or get hooked up with services. They also provide peer-to-peer services for veterans as well. And if you have legal issues, they'll connect you with us. Now, part of our process is we provide a legal screening to everyone who calls. So you call in, you'll speak with one of our staff, and they'll discuss your legal issue with you. We'll try and sort things out. If it seems like something we can help with and you appear to be eligible, then you'll be scheduled some time to meet with me or one of our other attorneys to talk in more detail. To get into the details of what that eligibility looks like, it's essentially we have income and asset guidelines. So for income eligibility, it's 200% of the federal poverty guideline. So I can't give you an exact number. You can look it up. It's really based on your household size. But we don't include VA benefits or Social Security benefits in that calculation. That's one thing that kind of makes us unique in the legal aid world. So if all your income is VA benefits, then you're probably income eligible for the program. We also do asset checks as well, though. So we have some more flexibility there. We exclude certain assets, such as a homestead property. So homestead property is your main residence. So if you own a home and you don't own any other homes, we don't include that as part of our income check or asset check. We also ask some questions about your other assets, bank accounts, if you have any investments, stocks, bonds, CDs. Do you have a Ferrari? I don't know, whatever. We ask some basic questions about that as well. Stir it all together in our magical system, and it pops out a response that we can determine to see whether you're eligible. And like I said, we have some flexibility, especially to help address some really specific legal issues. There's only one way to find out. Reach out to 211. You can give us a call directly as well, or call Mission United directly at 954-4-UNITED. So great program, a lot of resources available for veterans, especially here in Broward County. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is fairly unique and hopefully doesn't apply to too many of you out there, but I want to talk about debunking a bit of the discharge upgrade process. Now, in the past, we've talked about estate planning. We've talked about accessing VA healthcare and different ways to get eligible for VA healthcare. And we've talked about VA service-connected disability. So I kind of want to talk about the fourth realm of these accessing VA services and DD 214 corrections, and that's the discharge upgrade process. And I like to start this process off with this conversation off with there's a lot of misinformation out there about getting a discharge upgrade. And I've heard a lot of it. I'm sure you've heard a lot of it from both when you were in service and when you got out, and from people that you've talked to. And I've heard things such as, keep your nose clean for 5 years and it'll automatically upgrade itself. Or all you have to do is send in an application and they'll fix it. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. Well, neither of those things are written into the regulations or laws. pertaining to discharge upgrades, and there is no automatic fix. Even for cases, and I can tell you out of experience, even for cases that are clearly deserve a discharge upgrade, there's no automatic fix, and everyone has to go through essentially the same process. So the best way to think about this is there's two main avenues for a discharge upgrade. And legally, we call it jurisdiction, which board has jurisdiction over your case. But think of it as which board do you apply to for an upgrade? The first one is going to be the discharge review board of the military branch that you served in, or more specifically, the military branch that you're seeking an upgrade with. For example, maybe you served in the Marine Corps for a little while, you didn't like it, so you went over to the Army. And after serving the Army for 3 years, something happened and you got kicked out and got an other than honorable discharge. Well, you served in both the Marine Corps and the Army, so who would you apply for the discharge upgrade with? Well, assuming that your character of service in the Marine Corps was honorable, you're only looking to fix the Army issue, you would apply to the Army Discharge Review Board. So that's the first important step, is to figure out where you're applying. Each branch kind of has these two boards as well. So the first one, which are the discharge review boards, they can review applications for discharge upgrades if they're made within 15 years of separation from the service. So within 15 years on the date that you got out, you can apply to the discharge review board. So Army Discharge Review Board, Navy Discharge Review Board, Air Force Discharge Review Board. The Marine Corps, they don't have their own discharge review board. They operate under the Navy. Now, if let's say after 15 years, because I hear this a lot, James, I'm at 14 years and 6 months. I need to get my application right now. Well, not necessarily true. There's another board that you can apply to for relief, and those are the Board of Corrections of Military Records. So you might get the Board of Correction of Army Records or Naval Records or Air Force Records through that as well. And they can help anyone apply for a discharge upgrade as long as you are not eligible for the Discharge Review Board. So after 15 years of service, or after being out of the service for 15 years, is one way to apply to the Corrections Board. Or if maybe you tried a couple times already with the Discharge Review Board and didn't get a favorable result, but want to try again because maybe something changed, you can then apply to the Board of Correction of Military Records. Now, yeah, that's all great, but what does that really mean, and what do you have to do? So every case is different, and that's one thing that's important to understand with this, and not really just in this area, but in almost every aspect of the legal world, is every case is different. I hear often, well, I've got a buddy who I served with, and he got kicked out for the same thing that I did. Now he's got an honorable discharge and he's getting his GI Bill, and I want that too. Okay, great. Well, everyone's case is different, and they're not going to look at your buddy's case. They're going to look at your case. So that's one thing that's important to understand. The other thing that's important to understand is that the process is not a quick fix. So we get once in a while people saying, hey, I'm really interested in getting an upgrade to an honorable discharge because I want to start using my GI Bill next semester. Well, the problem there is there's no quick fix for the discharge upgrade. Currently with the Army, they're quoting us 18 to 24 months from when the application is submitted to when you'll get a response on the answer. And I'll tell you out of experience, it's about how long they're taking in the Army. The Air Force and the Navy, they vary as well. They tend to be a little more expeditious, and that's because the Army has the most people applying for discharge upgrades and other relief, because it's the largest branch. So that's another thing to understand, is there's no quick relief there. Now, when applying for a discharge upgrade, there's a couple things that you look at. And the two boards have their own standards of review, and they have their own terms of art that they use. But the best way to look at it is they look at two aspects in general. They look at was your separation from the military legal? Did the branch follow the legal standards of the UCMJ when separating you, or of their local regulations or any other aspect of DoD instruction? Was it legal? And two, was it fair? So as you can imagine, if you're getting an administrative discharge, it's probably legal. The UCMJ pretty much says they can administratively separate you for almost any reason. And it's very subjective at that point when receiving a ADSEP. So the question of whether it was legal when you're administratively separated is Probably yes, not always yes, but usually. So most of your relief lies in that second category. Was it fair? Now, if you ask a service member or if you ask a veteran, well, was your discharge fair? You might get a yeah, it was fair. I did what I did, and whatever, I own up to it. Or you might get no, absolutely, it wasn't fair. Like I said, my buddy did the same thing, and he's still in. Or whatever the issue might be. Or maybe it's something more detailed than that. And it's, well, it wasn't fair. I was suffering from symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder that I didn't even know I was dealing with at the time. And that caused me to start drinking and using drugs to deal with those symptoms because I couldn't get help in the service. So I didn't want to seem weak, and I didn't want to go to anyone and ask for help. And those are common issues, and those are all fair points to be made. Now, that's essentially what the discharge upgrade process is. So you would argue, and sometimes with the help of an attorney, but not necessarily needed, you'd argue that, hey, my discharge was not legal because of these reasons, if there are any, or my discharge was unfair, or the character of service that I received, the other than honorable discharge, was too harsh based on the circumstances. I served for 3.5 years, and I got deployed. I was in Afghanistan for 11.5 months, and I came back and I was still doing my job as much as I could, but I struggled and I couldn't get help, and I only used drugs once, and that's why I got kicked out. But it wasn't me being a bad person; it was trying to deal with what my experiences were while I was downrange. So that right there is the framework of an argument that we may put together for a discharge upgrade. Now, when applying for a discharge upgrade, it's very important, and I'm going to use the term discharge upgrade for either board, but when applying for a discharge upgrade, it's very important that you know what you're up against. So requesting your military personnel file is always the first step that we go about when we're putting forth the discharge upgrade based on one of those two principles of equity or legality. So requesting a military personnel file, mostly done through the National Personnel Record Center. Currently major delays due to COVID-19, but still the number one way to do it, either through standard Form 180 or online through their MAVRC portal. It's the electronic veteran records portal that they have in their military records department. Both great ways to do it. I prefer to do it through the online system. It's a little easier. You just type in the information. They give you a form to print out, sign, and fax away. And they'll give you updates, and you'll know the status of your claim. And so it's definitely the best way to do it. Though the old school standard Form 180 works as well. So once you request your military personnel file, you can take a look at it and see what you're up against. You can see, oh, I didn't realize I received a summary court-martial. I thought I just got an administrative separation. Yeah, sometimes you forget these things. I completely understand that. Or, oh yeah, I forgot about that the non-judicial punishment. I forgot about that Article 15 that I got at my first duty station. That was so long ago, and I did so well in between that. Well, that might impact your case. If you're trying to argue that all of your misconduct happened after that deployment, and then you find out, oh yeah, I had that NJP right out of boot camp or right out of advanced. Those are things that it's important to realize what you're up against. And ultimately, from that stage, it's all about gathering evidence to build your case. If you're arguing that you are a stellar service member, maybe you were an outstanding soldier or an outstanding airman, and your records show multiple promotions and all your counselings are positive and everything went well, and maybe you say, oh yeah, well, I still talk to my first sergeant, or I still talk to my buddy that I served with who's now a staff sergeant, and they're willing to put together a letter of support for you. The building evidence like that is super helpful because they can write, oh yeah, Private First Class Smith was excellent, and he did X, Y, and Z, and always excelled at his job. And I remember writing his performance report and stating so, and highly recommended him for promotions. And I'm not sure what happened or whatever goes on in that letter. That can be used as great evidence to help with your case. Civilian evidence, civilian letters can be helpful. So maybe you wrote back home a few times. Maybe you wrote on Facebook or WhatsApp to your family and friends, and they're willing to say, well, yeah, he reached out to me or she reached out to me after that happened in the service, and that's some crazy times that they went through. And, while I don't quite understand what it was, they told me what happened. Things like that can help. And, hey, I saw a change in behavior in him, or I saw that, she started acting different when I saw her next time. It just wasn't the same person afterwards. And things like that are definitely helpful. Another thing that's super helpful is your personal statement. So in your own words, tell me about your life prior to the military. Tell me about why you enlisted. Tell me about basic and advanced and your first duty station. And tell me every detail about what happened and what you thought and all the good and the bad and the ugly that happened to you while you were in the service. And then also tell me about the misconduct. What happened? Tell me about your life after you got out. What have you been doing since? Have you had run-ins with the law? Have you had issues in the criminal justice system? Have you experienced homelessness, or have you had substance abuse issues? Have you overcome those issues? How did you overcome them? Do you do it by yourself? I hear the story a lot that, I talked to a veteran who said, yeah, I got out and I had nowhere to go. I was embarrassed to contact my family, or I didn't even tell them I was out. And from there, I just kind of figured it out on my own. I lived in my car for a little bit, got out, pulled myself up by my bootstraps and carried on. Well, the board might want to hear that. That's impressive. And that shows, your strong will and character and your ability to overcome hardships and adversities. They look at all these things. And as I mentioned, they don't look at just one aspect of this case. They're looking at everything. They're looking at the entirety of your case and all the aspects. Now, really, the point of this, too, is just to kind of give you an idea of what goes into a discharge upgrade. Every case is different, and there's going to be each individual is going to have different records that we do submit, different types of statements that we ask for, and different evidence that is going to work and benefit them in their favor. One thing that you can't really do is you can't hide what's in your military personnel file. So if it's in there, you should probably own up to it in some way or another. In the recent years, outside of those two principles of legality and fairness that we talked about, or error and justice, whatever board you're looking at, they're also looking at what they call rehabilitation. So as the criminal justice system in the civilian world is changing, where you have various types of treatment courts, and you have mental health court and drug court and what they call alternative jurisprudence models, so are these boards. They're changing their viewpoints on what punitive measures are still fair and what are no longer really acceptable in society. So, for example, there's criminal justice reform with expungements and changing records, or allowing disenfranchised members of the community, such as felons, to vote. All these types of rehabilitative measures are now slowly pouring over into these boards of corrections and military records and discharge review boards. So that's another aspect that you can work up your angle as well. So maybe your discharge was illegal. Maybe you owned up to doing drugs in the service, and there was no really excuse to it other than you were young and dumb, and you were kind of just following the shadow of a buddy of yours who was using drugs when you came into that duty station or into that unit, and you don't really have an excuse otherwise. At least not an excuse linked up to the military. So what they're looking at now are, what have you done since you got out? So what have you done to rectify the situation? Yeah, you might have been young and immature at that time, and you probably regret doing what you did. But what have you done since? Are you giving back to the community in some way? Or what have your struggles been? How have you overcome them? And those are important things to lay out to these boards as well. And again, every case is different. It's important to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. We're happy to help at least provide further guidance on these issues. We're not able to represent everybody in discharge upgrade cases. We can only really help in the cases with the most need. Otherwise, happy to provide you with all the resources in the world about what you can do to get the upgrade and apply for the upgrade yourself. There's certain strategies that can be used that can be helpful. And, you just kind of have to go along with the process. It's, like I said, it's a long-term solution. It's not a quick fix. So it's a long-term solution, but it can open up a world of benefits to you. And speaking of which, one of the things that the board doesn't like seeing is when you say you want to apply for a discharge upgrade, because you need benefits. It's not what they're looking for. It's not one of the standards. You can mention that the benefits are going to help you, achieve your goals X, Y, and Z, but it can't be the basis. It can't be the sole reason of your application. It's not one of the standards they look at. So with that being said, I think that about 25-minute overview of discharge upgrades is a good place to move into questions. So if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them here on this platform. If you're watching this virtually and you have questions, you can actually send us an email directly or contact one of those avenues that we talked about. As I said before, there's no attorney-client relationship that's formed until we're able to actually talk and figure out eligibility for our project, though all conversation that we have is protected under attorney-client privilege, obviously outside of this open forum here on YouTube or on Zoom. So keep that in mind as well. You can call either 211, get connected to us, 954-4UNITED, or you can send us an email, missionunited@legalaid.org. So with that being said, happy to answer any questions that may arise.
So we have a few questions. So did you guys see like a rise in services like these past few months, or have you seen a drop, or like how has COVID impacted like your services, do you think?
So it's been a change. So it's really interesting. The amount of referrals that we're receiving. So normally we receive anywhere from 80 to 120 referrals every month for veterans seeking legal services. Now, each one of those veterans gets a legal screening, and we make several attempts on reaching back out to them to do that legal screening. So the number of referrals has dropped, not significantly. I would say now we're averaging about 60 to 90 a month, so still a lot. But the number of actual legal issues we're seeing has not really dropped. So we're seeing for about unique legal issues 20 a month, or 20 unique veterans, so 20 individuals with legal issues that we're helping, about 20 or so a month. That number is still fluctuating anywhere in that range of that, dozen and a half to 2 dozen. So it still averages about the same. So we're still pulling out the same amount of legal issues. Also, the type of legal issues has kind of changed a little bit. I feel people are less concerned with some of these, less important legal issues that they might face, and are more concerned with things that are actually impacting them. Not to say that someone's legal issue is insignificant, but people are, for example, debt resolution. I'll give you that as an example. We're getting fewer calls for debt resolution, which kind of seems counterintuitive. While your income has dropped because you lost your job, or for whatever reasons, you'd think, oh, well, I want to resolve debt so I have more income. Well, people are more focused on trying to find employment, trying to find a place to live, trying to find, how are they going to put food on their table for them and their families, that they're not super concerned with resolving their debt, more so as they're just going to stop paying their credit card bill. So we're seeing fewer cases of that. And we're seeing, fewer of these debt collectors going after debts, not to say that they've stopped or that they have any, reason to stop. They can still go after them. Private consumer debts, at least. So it's kind of been a change in legal issues we're seeing. We're seeing more questions about evictions, what a landlord can and cannot do during these times, and also several questions about increasing VA benefits. How do I get an increase in my service-connected disability? Because since COVID started, I've been experiencing X, Y, and Z increase in my symptoms, or whatever it might be. So just, there has been a change. Maybe referrals have slowed down, but the program operations have not really dwindled too much.
All right, thank you. And also, so when you're consulting these veterans about their discharge papers, are you doing face-to-face, or are you doing via Zoom? And if you do via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, I know you guys said that, how is there opportunities for face-to-face, especially with the older generation who might not have access to these technologies? So
the majority, so we give everyone the option. You're welcome to do it through Zoom or other virtual platforms such as Microsoft Teams. but the majority of our current consultations are being done over the phone. Now, it took a few months for us to kind of figure out the best way for us to exchange documents. But now we can, as long as we can get documents either through email or fax. Faxing in 2020 is kind of an interesting experience, but we have electronic fax as well, or through regular mail. But our office is closed to the public currently. So our legal aid office is closed to the public, and we've had very limited contact in person with our clients, and especially with new clients. There's been a few active cases that I'm working on where there's just no other way around it, where we have to have in-person contact, and so we social distance and do everything we can to keep everyone safe and healthy. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. For the most part, everything's being operated through over the phone, though the option to do it virtually is available.
And so this should be my final question. So what do you recommend to veterans start doing before they even start contacting y'all, just so they can expedite the processes? I know you were saying something about requesting their military records and stuff like that.
So I wouldn't necessarily, you don't really have to do anything too much before you contact us. If you've got a DD-214 handy, go find it, because we're going to ask you for that. And so as almost any other organization you work with that needs to verify veteran status. So that would be helpful. And, understand what your schedule is. We're flexible. We're willing to work around your schedule. So if you're working, if you're going to school, if you've got, you're watching your children on 3 days a week, and it's just not going to, you can't sit down and have a conversation with us during that time over the phone, we can work with you, and just let us know what works best for you. Our normal hours of operation are from 9 to 5, but we're able to make some exceptions here and there if needed. For the most part, we ask to keep it within that scheduled time frame. But if 9 a.m. works best for you, we can make a 9 a.m. appointment. If 5 p.m. works best for you, we can make a 5 p.m. appointment. If you have a lunch break and you have only 20 minutes to talk during a lunch break because you need some time to eat, we can make it happen. So we can be very flexible. So just know your schedule and know what works for you. Gather some of the documents that you might need for your legal issue, especially if you've been already scheduled to meet with me or another attorney with our project. Have everything ready to go. It's going to expedite that process so much more quickly, so that then we'll be able to actually talk about your legal issue and not spend time talking about what documents we still need from you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have a question?
I had a question. Does your office handle VA disability claim appeals?
Yes, so we do VA disability benefit appeals for, obviously, as I mentioned, veterans who are eligible for our services. So as long as a veteran is eligible, we help with almost any area of civil law. So it's everything from family law and real estate issues and employment discrimination, estate planning, immigration, everything except for slip and falls or personal injury. We don't do any of that. And we don't do any criminal law as well. But we also do VA benefit appeals. We do discharge upgrades. We do other sorts of accessing VA benefits, so character of discharge determinations through the VA and access to VA healthcare as well.
That was the only question I
had. All right, thank you for asking your question. I didn't even think about asking that. I didn't serve myself, my dad served, so, but it's just good to know. I'll definitely tell my dad, go watch our YouTube. But thank you so much for speaking with us. I actually learned a lot, and thanks again for taking time out of your day. Thank you guys for all coming out, like Aquisha and Ms. Brown. It really helped out. So if that's it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. I hope to see you again.
Yep, I'm sure you will.
That's amazing. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Like I said, check out our YouTube channel, NSU Veterans Resource Center. We are the Sharks, so you'll find us easily. All right.
Bye. Take care, everyone.